Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe, that is Stephen Howson, and we are here to talk about the takeover of Manchester United. I realised we've barely spoken about this on this channel. I want to know what your thoughts are. We'll go through the latest. Go on.
We've barely spoke about it on this channel.
Yeah, we speak about it. We've barely spoke about it. We need your thoughts.
It's a clear distinction.
There is a clear distinction.
Michael Knight, make it happen.
It's going to happen at some point. Why is it taking so long, first of all? What's going on?
My belief is that the Glazers couldn't organise a piss up in a brewery, and must be a nightmare when you're trying to see if they want beans or peas with the chicken dippers for tea, because they just can't make a decision.
They go back to the team, don't they? I'll decide later. It doesn't help that there's 5 or 6 of them all own as separate pies, all want different parts of it. But the latest is that basically no one's heard anything for nearly 3 weeks now. You hear an article comes out that Jim Ratcliffe's getting pissed off, but he's still confident. That Qatar's getting pissed off, but they're still confident. Everyone's confident, but everyone's pissed off. Like it's not nice, but it's almost heartening to see. I don't even think they hated Man United. I think they're just terrible at what they do. The Glazers are just shit. Yeah,
I think that's probably why they've not done anything with the football club. Like, should we upgrade Old Trafford? Don't know.
Yeah.
Can we paint it? What colour?
Yeah.
Like,
have we got any paint in the cellar? Can we use that? No.
Just
wait a bit.
I just think they're decision shy.
Yeah. And it's mad that there's so many of them as well that they all seem to have to agree on it, and it's just not coming to anything at the minute.
Do you know what? I was going to say, there's an equal number of them. Maybe we should make it an odd number, but then someone will take that as me advocating violence against them.
Yeah,
probably do that.
Let's talk about some specific bids then. So we'll start with Jim Ratcliffe. What the main sort of pros of that bid is, he seems like he could be a United fan, which seems to some people a good thing. Other people don't care, but some people like that. He's got the money, seemingly, whether it's the same as Sheikh Jassim, but I don't think he's going to be buying it with leverage debt the way that the Glazers did. Downsides, doesn't have as much money as Sheikh Jassim. There's rumours and reports, it seems like if he was to buy it, the Glazers would stay on in some sort of minority capacity for an undetermined amount of time. What do you make of him and his bid?
I think it's unfortunate for him that it comes back on the back of the Chelsea thing, because he kind of had to sell his soul to Chelsea fans when he looked like he could be buying Chelsea. So he has to make out that he's a Chelsea fan. I believe he was a United fan because, well, he was in Barcelona in 1999, which is a pretty good indicator of whether you're a United fan or not.
Yeah.
So I do believe he is a United fan, and I think he probably did go to Chelsea games when he was in London. Does that make him a Chelsea fan? Or was that the angle that he had to play when he thought he was buying Chelsea? Like when he bought Nice, did he have to be like, well, I live in Monaco, so, it's just like... Yeah. I'm sure he had to use whatever angle he could to make it appeasing to them. On Nice, I think that's a massive red flag. He's not done anything with Nice.
No, he spent more money than they used to spend and sort of finished in the same place that they used to finish.
Yeah. And not being very patient with managers. So, is there positives behind him? There are few. And literally just him being a United fan. Well, me and you are United fans. The only other thing he's got on us is the cash.
Yeah, which is pretty vital, to be fair.
It's a box that needed ticking.
Yeah.
But I would like someone that's also maybe got a track record. And Sheikh Jassim doesn't have a track record as far as I'm aware.
Well, if we move on then, neither do... Well, yeah, Sheikh Jassim and Qatar, unless you sort of want to kind of stir PSG in as is some of the money coming from the same sources, but it won't be the same people, even if it is the same
on this, from what I can gather, and there's a lot of people who have been extremely vocal about this in my Twitter mentions, all money in Qatar is from the same pot, apparently. I don't know how true that is. That's not me trying to play devil's advocate. The fact is, I don't know.
Well, just so, because it has been a bit of a thing. You like you said, you have had a bit of a Twitter thing about this, like your opinion on it. So what we definitely know is Sheikh Jassim is part of the Qatar royal family. That is a fact, isn't it? As far as
I thought he was Prime Minister.
Well, I think that is the royal family. It's one and the same.
I don't know. I don't have enough information. I think
that Athletic article is basically there's quite a wide, broad family, but I think it's the Al Thani family is the ruling family of Qatar, of which he is part. I don't know how far removed, but it's his name and he is part of that family. So obviously that is an interesting kind of aspect of it, is that it may be the same pot of money. You know, the sports, the money that owns PSG, and this money is kind of being looked after by some of the same people. But it doesn't mean that the day-to-day of it would be him. But I think the ties to the royal family are, well, not even ties, he's part of the royal family.
But the only quotable article I have ever seen in relation to this, and like I said, you can believe it or not believe it. I don't actually care. The only thing that's ever been stated about the nature of this bid is Sheikh Jassim and a consortium of unnamed private individuals. That's all they've ever said. So for everyone, people going, but you know it's state-owned, don't you? Well, no, because that's what that says. And that's the only thing we've got to go off. Unless someone can go, there you go, it's not. Now, people go, well, Manchester City is actually the Abu Dhabi group. Okay, but that's literally owned and operated by the same fund that is their sovereign wealth fund. And the same thing with PIF and Newcastle. Does it smell the same? Yeah, it does, to be honest. But it's technically different. And that's what I'm going on. Like, this isn't me advocating for them. This is me just speaking on the only thing, because I've done the research, I've tried to find out, because I don't have a fucking clue who Sheikh Jassim is.
No.
I don't have a clue about any of that. I don't have a clue about what goes on with PSG. I know there's the QSI group and the fucking whatever the other initials group are. The only thing that's ever been stated is that this is Sheikh Jassim and friends. Now, them friends might be my mum and my dad and my cousins. Yeah. I have no idea, because no one's ever come forward from them. And people always try and twist this and go, well, but you know the truth. No, I don't know the truth. It's the same with Manchester City. They've been charged, right? And we suspect, but they've not been, although them fucking emails look a bit legit to me.
Yeah, they do.
We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. And like I said, I've always said, I suspect this is probably state funded. Yeah. And I don't want that.
No.
But what can we do?
Let's even if it is or it isn't, but let's assume that the money that is being used to buy United is of somewhat, endless proportion, regardless of, it seems like they can commit to, improving the stadium, improving the infrastructure around Old Trafford, investing in the city of Manchester itself, investing in the training ground. Like, there's certainly in the realm of 10 billion almost being kind of mentally doled out before we do any transfers or anything. So there's definitely a lot of money.
Will it cure the traffic on the Mancunian Way?
Well, yeah, no, I don't think it will, unless they double the width of it.
Can we get another drive-through Greggs?
I think they might be planning one actually in part of Salford.
Sign me up.
Would it sort of dampen or kind of sort of soften any success for you? If it's like, do you know when you go on, this is the way I say it in my head, do you know when you go on FIFA or you go on GTA and you put a cheat in, like unlimited money glitch? And at first it's great because you go, I've got Mbappe, I've got Neymar, we've got, Vardiol, we've got this, we've got De Bruyne, we've got that. But after sort of, get to the 25, 26 season and you go, I'm a bit bored now. Like, this isn't real, we didn't earn this, we didn't achieve this. Does that worry you at all?
No.
You don't think that would take away from it in your eyes?
No, because Manchester United are a rich club.
Yeah.
Manchester United make money. Manchester United are a model for any other club that's ever made money. Fact.
Yeah.
Like, Manchester United were one of the first people to really grasp football commercialism. They looked at what was happening over in the States in the NFL and was like, we could probably do a bit of that. And then we did a bit of that. And we was extremely successful doing that. Martin Edwards made a fucking gigaton of money by doing that. And then once the club had gone public, which helped start some of the stadium development stuff in the early 90s, that coincided to the team maturing and becoming successful, and we just ridden that. Yeah. And that was one of the reasons why B Sky B tried to buy us in 1998, and why the Glazers ultimately invested into us in the early 2000s when they bought their initial shareholding. And it's only since the Glazers took over Manchester United's. There was this video graph that I wanted to make a video with. It's one of them, John, you see like the year changes in the corner and it's got all these bar graphs.
And it's like top goal scorers for Premier League or whatever.
All time.
Yeah.
Manchester United basically was just streaking ahead,
Yeah.
Making 250 million profit
Yeah.
in like 2000, 2001, 2002, year on year. And then 2005 hits, then it goes zoop, and United are about 4th in the list.
Yeah.
And you start seeing other clubs start overtaking us, and Spurs overtook
What are they doing?
United.
Yeah.
Because they got it right commercially off the field, which has put them in good stead to be able to get debt of their own now. They've got $1 billion in debt, but they've got a shiny thing to show for it. We don't even have a fucking shiny thing.
No.
We have a slightly covered in moss, needs a bit of a fucking roof leak fix thing.
That we also had 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That was the same.
But actually 20 years ago, it was state of the art and one of the best stadiums in the world. No longer the case.
No.
Same with Carrington. No longer the case. Same with the actual playing staff. All of these things at one stage were the best in the world, and then they've just not been touched in 20 years. So Manchester United have been we've been fighting with one arm tied behind our back by paying off that 1.6 billion over the course of the last 18 years. And that's the 1.6 billion that we've actually paid out. But what have we lost in terms of not having the same level of success? In terms of, when we were making profits on transfers for the 5 years following the Glazer takeover, where we didn't actually have a net spend at all, and still managed to maintain a level of success because of things that had been built beforehand. What have we lost by not having the Martin Edwards and PLC level of spending because we didn't have not only the debt, but what if we'd have continued more success? What if we'd have won multiple Champions Leagues because we'd have had a better squad and been rebuilding and continued to win? What if we'd have just, instead of it being Real Madrid that won those back-to-back ones, what if it had been United?
Yeah. Was it called opportunity cost or whatever, where it's you putting a price on something that could happen?
That didn't happen.
Or that didn't happen.
Yeah, so what if it had been United that had done that? So let alone the 1.5.
2 billion a year. Yeah.
Let alone the 1.5 that we've lost in debt repayments. What have we lost by not being successful in the last 10 years? Is that another billion? Is it another $1.5 billion? Is it 2 billion? It's feasible. It could be all of those things. So when you say, oh, well, someone's going to pour some money into United, stopping the tap leaking. You don't need to pour that much in. You just need to stop taking out. So if they invest into the stadium, okay, cool, I'll take it. If they invest into the academy, okay, cool, I'll take it. What do we really need to invest into the playing staff? Nothing less than we've had stripped of us. And by the way, people like to say that United spent $1 billion post-Sir Alex. We spent more on debt, so until we've spent more on debt, shut your fucking mouth. I don't care. And actually, the fact that we spent 1.5 billion, even when we spend double what we spent on the debt, that's still a massive hindrance. We spent more on debt than Chelsea has spent on players.
Yeah, that's not good, is it? Imagine that had gone into the local. You look at what Spurs are doing. I mean, I don't want NFL games at Old Trafford. That's not what I want. But you look at the gigs, the other sports, the boxing events, the this, the that, the local area, the hotels, the restaurants.
Old Trafford literally did that in the 90s.
Yeah, and now you go to Old Trafford, and other than hotel football, which incredibly isn't owned by Man United, even though you can smell it from the megastore. Other than that, nothing has been done around there for 20 years. It's genuinely insane. So I get that point then. So United don't necessarily, in terms of on the pitch, need this, unlimited fund to help us out, which I think would, to me, make things a little bit easier to swallow in terms of, because people point the finger at City saying, you wouldn't do this without your owners.
Well, no,
you
but
couldn't
Manchester
possibly
City,
do it.
The year they got taken over, they got beat 8-1 by Middlesbrough.
Yeah. And we only lose like that to Liverpool. Yeah, they did.
Right? And in that season or the season before, when they were in the fucking Intertoto or whatever it was, and they played Midtjylland, there was about 25 fucking people in that ground.
Yeah.
Honestly, there was more cameramen than fans, genuinely. Like, Manchester City are literally, that could have been Wigan, that could have been fucking Leeds.
Yeah.
Maybe Leeds was a bit bigger, actually.
Yeah.
But it could have been any of those E-level teams.
Yeah.
And that, I don't think he's being exaggerating in terms of what Manchester City truly are.
I think it actually, one of the things that made City a popular, sort of a decent proposition, was the fact that you could build a rivalry with Man United.
Probably.
They
also had the free stadium.
Well, that helps.
Manchester City Council dunked to a free stadium.
So just moving on from that, then, we've seen City do it, and unfortunately, in terms of these big teams being taken over by seemingly unlimited wealth, they are doing it better than anyone. Newcastle yet to be seen, but PSG have been a bit of a shit show. And I'm not even comparing the Qatar thing with PSG because let's assume it's different money. How do we stop ourselves being a PSG where you've got basically the players running the club, they're all on too much money, they get knocked out of the round of 16 in the Champions League every year, they don't even win League One every year when they've spent, I think, there's only 3 teams in the last decade who have even got a negative net spend on transfers in Ligue 1. Everyone else is making profit.
Wow.
And the next lowest after PSG, who have spent 700 million, is Nice, I think, with 170 million. So they've spent 5 times more than anyone else, and they don't even win the league every year. Like, how do we stop being that and make sure we're more, unfortunately, in line with City, who have annoyingly spent loads but spent it properly?
Well, I think, you said he spent loads and he spent it properly. That's what's declared.
Yes.
And
well, they certainly spent loads. No one's arguing that.
Yeah, they've definitely spent loads, and that's even just what they've declared.
Yeah.
Do you not find it suspicious where it was like, oh, Manchester City going, it's a cheap one again, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
weird. Like Laporte for nothing again. Oh, yeah. Interesting.
Like, for 15.
Do you know what I mean? I think there's a second set of books somewhere with Manchester City. It's got the smell of, at least. Anyway.
Well, I mean, it's not even that. Mancini literally, according to the allegations, got paid the same amount as his yearly coaching wage for 2 one-day seminars. Like, that, there is a second set of books, according to the accusations. You don't even have to...
Pep Guardiola's brother got a club worth a couple of $100 million.
Do you know what I mean? So
totally above board.
But hopefully, United wouldn't have to do that.
No,
I don't want us to be loophole FC. No, I don't want that.
And do you know what the madness is? You don't actually think City needed to do it.
Yeah.
And with the whichever the betting company was that people have been digging into and going, this doesn't fucking exist.
There's just a picture of Teddy Sheringham like that was taken 1 week ago.
Yeah, but then it's like, who's all the directors of this sponsoring company? And it's like, oh, they're stock images off some fucking website.
Just like, woman on
with the
images.
amount of wealth that they've got, buy an actual bookies and then give them money to sponsor. Like, that would have been easier than trying to cook the books. Yeah. Just buy a real company.
I know.
I don't get why they didn't. Cheap better.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think they needed to do that because I think what they have done legitimately, and I've been there for some tournaments, their training ground is the bollocks.
Yeah.
Their approach in Manchester to the youth systems is interesting. It's different to United. They've almost got entirely opposing philosophies. Manchester United are looking for Hollywood kid. One. Done. That's you. Is he as good as... Is he the new Wayne Rooney? Is he the new Ronaldo? If he's not, I really don't know.
If he's not David Beckham, we'll see you later.
Manchester City will have... Like, everyone watching this, if you're in Manchester and you've got a kid between 6 and 15, have they been at City?
Yeah.
The answer is usually yes.
Right.
If they can kick a ball in a roughly straight line, they'll have been at City for at least a couple of weeks while they have a look at them and they get data on them. So City are doing this mass farming thing where no one slips through the net. And Manchester United are really going and doing the very laser targeted sort of looking at what they can get with certain lads. And United they have a squad of about 20 per age group when they think all of those kids have got Ronaldo level. And City might have about 15 squads where they'll see what happens with a lot of them. It's a very different sort of philosophy. But one thing you can say is they spent money on their excuse me, scout network. They spent money on their recruitment. I know some accusations of where the Gabi Fernandez that ended up playing for Paddock. It's funny because everyone was like, oh, he plays for Paddock, and then all these accusations come out. I mean, fuck all to do with me. He actually messaged me, he's like, should I talk about these? And I'm like, you come out of this looking bad, if anything. Yeah. He was like, yeah, they used to pay my dad, basically.
What City did?
Yeah, he used to pay his dad as a scout, and he'd never scouted.
They love a bit of that, don't they?
Yeah, but do you think that they don't need to do this?
Yeah.
Like, there's ways of this happening. Where what they've done in building that academy facility, what they've done in terms of the coaching philosophy embedded throughout the club, and the money that I've spent in getting the right people in, and the facilities are fantastic, and the sort of coordinated director of football planning and recruitment, not just in conjunction with the academy but with the first team as well. From a footballing perspective, it's actually quite admirable what they've done. It's that sort of black ops side that they've got, which you kind of thinking like,
But hopefully United, like we said, hopefully we won't have to do that. We just need someone who can, I mean, regardless of who the next owner is, even if the Glazers stay, I mean, I can't imagine them investing in this, but we just need someone to kind of orchestrate this. Like, who is it? Was that literally what Ed Woodward was doing? Was he in charge of like setting up all of the structures of Man United underneath him?
So ultimately, everything, all roads lead to one.
Like hiring people in the right place, because it's just we just don't do any of it.
No.
Like, I mean, hopefully it would really soften the blow for me, because I genuinely feel like a little bit like you look at City and you go, you couldn't have done this otherwise. You're basically the kits on the money that you've been given. You're not a club that has built and grown and achieved and won and scrapped and done that.
Look at City legends.
Yeah. David Dunn.
It's people who played...
And then people who played...
Like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
It's like Lescott and that, and I fucking love him. I think he's a great bloke.
Yeah.
But like, they ain't got him from the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s. They ain't got him.
No. So hopefully if United could do it where it still feels like the club that's doing it, because this is the first acquisition of this kind, isn't it? There hasn't been a top club bought out, and we don't know who it's going to be, but, assuming if it is Qatar, it seems like it's either people aren't saying who they think it's going to be, or they're saying they think it's going to be Qatar. We haven't seen a sort of state-ish bid for one of the mega teams yet, and it'll be interesting to see how different.
Well, you're not going to see it for Barcelona, Real Madrid, although isn't there like Barcelona are just doing absolute madness?
Yeah.
Like, isn't there like 25% of this fan-owned club now going to be sold to Saudi? I'm sure I saw something along those lines. If not, someone at Barcelona's sold it.
Yeah.
You're not going to buy them or Real Madrid, theoretically, because they're fan-owned. I know the likes of AC Milan have changed hands in recent times. Berlusconi had them for a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know the situation with that. Bayern Munich, obviously, 50+1, fan-owned. Interestingly, the 3 other people that own Bayern Munich?
No.
It is Adidas, Audi and Allianz.
Really? Keeping it in-house, aren't they? Because they've been sponsored by, I mean, it was Opel,
forever.
wasn't it?
I think it's only ever been Adidas.
Yeah, and Audi's obviously German and, making shitloads of money, and Allianz is the stadium.
Yeah.
So they're pretty much locked in. So do you think United will be done differently
that's who owns
to City?
the other 50% of their sharing.
Do you think United will be run differently to City and PSG and Newcastle if it is to be Qatar?
I think all 3 of them clubs are run differently from each other. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because you've also got, in terms of like Middle Eastern sort of involvement in sport, you've got Bahrain has got heavily involved in mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
You've got them obviously involved. They've all got a Grand Prix, haven't they? And every single one of them got a fucking Grand Prix.
Definitely Saudi.
Bahrain definitely does.
Bahrain definitely does.
Has Qatar got a Grand Prix yet?
I'm not sure. We've got some F1 fans behind the camera, but I'm not sure. I don't know if Qatar has, but it's that region of the world is not taking over sport. But you look what's happened with golf and Saudi Arabia. They've sort of made their big rival to the PGA Tour, and then we
Qatar
went,
had the World
Cup all together.
They've built some incredible facilities.
Yeah.
They're not just going to let them facilities do nothing now. They're going to bring in. I believe they're trying to get the Asian Cup, which makes sense.
Yeah.
I believe there's a bid for a Grand Prix, if not a Grand Prix already there.
Yeah.
I think sailing competitions and shit would be perfect on a place like that. Did I see Qatar going for the fucking Olympics?
Maybe. I don't know.
And you think, like, I get why on one hand, because you're like, oh, there you go, Qatar. This is the second time he's ever hosted it.
Yeah.
The first one was only a couple of years ago. So I get why, as a nation state, they want to diversify their own revenue streams as a nation. If they're oil reliant on a global economy that trying to stop oil and move away from oil, I understand maybe you go, actually, can we be known for tourism? Can we be known for... I understand the desire to diversify. I understand the desire from all of that region to try and do what they're doing. I don't think it's correct that they're all lumped in. I think it's very easy and lazy for people to just lump in fucking Middle Eastern owners. But which Middle Eastern owners are doing things the same fucking way? I feel like every Middle Eastern owner is doing something slightly different. And unfortunately, it seems like, the cheating aside, the City appear to be doing it to the best degree.
Yeah. Who do you want to own United next? What do you like?
It's not going to happen.
What would be
me and you?
Yeah.
Like, I want it to be, well, I would love the German model, 50 plus. The German model or the fan-owned Spanish version, which Barcelona are doing their best to fucking destroy everyone's faith in.
Yeah.
Real Madrid do okay. Same model. It's the exact same model. But not got half the problems. I know they seemingly get bailed out by the Spanish government every now and then. But I believe in fan ownership. I did it with Paddock. I did it with Paddock because I believe in it. For no other fucking reason than I kind of was like, I want this to work. You know, and I've seen it work in other areas in England. It's only ever been on a small scale. Obviously, we haven't yet seen like a fan-owned club do well at the top end of the Premier League. And I think that's, like, up until a couple of years ago, there were 2 clubs out of the 92 that made a profit. Do you know who they were?
United. And what? Since
This was a few years ago.
United and...
Within the last decade, but, you know, at least 5 years ago.
Okay, so last decade profit would probably be United and then someone surprising like Yeovil or something.
No, Arsenal.
Yeah.
Which means the whole of the Championship, the whole of League One, the whole of League Two were all in debt.
Yeah, that's not
They were all running at a loss. And 18 of the 20 teams in the Premier League were running at a loss. And the only teams that were making money was Arsenal under Wenger, and they were profitable, and Manchester United, despite the fucking stone around our necks with the Glazers. So, you think, can Manchester United do it without... Can we do it different? Yeah. Can we do it ethically? Yeah. Whether or not you can abide by the fact that it might be owned by a state. Does that mean anything? Does it not mean anything? Are we now intrinsically linked to the futures of Qatar and the human rights abuses that were fucking very evident around the workers and what had happened post World Cup, where there's allegations of people just got told to fucking sling it and didn't get paid? Did that happen? Is that down to the state? Is that down to private? I don't fucking know. I don't know the answer to that. All I can say is having been there and seeing some... Johnny Harris has got an excellent documentary on the workers' rights thing in Qatar, by the way. Very, very worth looking into. There are essentially 2 cities that operate next to each other. Where the workers live and they get on certain buses, and then where tourists and people that were there for the World Cup go and they get to commute around on the fucking brilliantly clean, always on time metro. So, yeah, I think it's problematic if United are run by a state. I never wanted that. Perfect owner for me is us, them lot watching, me and you. That's who should own Manchester United. It should be owned by the fans. I believe in that to my core. Now, I don't think that was ever on the table from the second the Glazers bought us. No. I think our opportunity was probably to try and hoover up shares once we was a PLC, early 2000s, but there was never a collective desire to do that. There was never a campaign to do that. There was never a forecasting of this is what you're in. And I think once that horse bolted, you was never getting that turned around. I think the only way that ever happens now is there'd have to be a couple of things happen, which is not impossible to happen. I think the TV bubble would need to burst. And I think that what's going on in Saudi could impact that. If English football no longer attracts the talent, it could happen. You know, we saw Italian football fall off from the peak that it was at in the 90s. The Calcio scandal that rocked it. Their TV rights have been going for fuck all now, and that's why they can't compete with, you know, Spanish, German, and English teams on a financial scale. So you can't say it's impossible because it happened. It happened to Juventus and AC Milan, and it happened in there. And you know, a little bit of a distrust in the competition because of the cheating, obviously as well. But there's no reason to say that if Saudi just keeps plowing this in, they're going to put so much money in, and it's such a coordinated effort in Saudi with this league. The TV companies, if the audiences start demanding to watch that, the global audiences, because I think the UK audience will still be loyal to the Premier League. Yeah. But I think the global audience, you Messi, Ronaldo fans, they'll just start watching that because that's the new Champions League potentially. That's the new Super League. Yeah, and that's where all the best players are. Yeah. And that might cause issues with the TV money. You know, wages and transfer fees are exponential. They never go down. They only go up. Well, if some point someone goes, actually, we're only going to pay you this because we're going to put fucking 4 hours of Saudi football on every week, then you got a problem. You know, and does that start the collapse of Manchester United? Do Manchester United end up going bankrupt? Probably not if it's Sheikh Jassim and friends who own us.
Yeah.
With Jim Ratcliffe, is it a possibility? That might be the only way that Manchester United fans ever have of owning this football club. It will require a disaster.
Well, not particularly uplifting, Steve, but
that's what I'm here for.
Thank you very much. Right, give us your thoughts on the takeover of Man United. I mean, it's interesting that we're sat here and it's been essentially 3 weeks since the last genuine bit of news that Sheikh Jassim put in his 5th and final bid, and since then, by the sounds of it, neither Sheikh Jassim nor Jim Ratcliffe have heard a word since.
They've gone full out of office, Joe.
They've absolutely got... The emails are just bouncing straight back, aren't they? We'll be back at some point this season.
We're in Florida. You live in Florida.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for coming on today. Thank you at home. Get your thoughts in on the takeover of Manchester United, and we'll see you in a bit.